Hello, this is Broyar, and welcome to another episode of our Civilization 6 Countdown series, where I will be counting down the top 10 best civilizations in each category. Today we'll be continuing with the civs that excel at winning a science victory. Just a note, I believe that any civilization is capable of winning a science victory on any difficulty with a skilled enough player, but these 10 civilizations have unique bonuses that will make the job a bit easier than the other 36. I do think that winning a domination victory with any civilization in the game is a bit easier than winning a science victory with any civilization, especially on the higher difficulties, because the AI gets a lot of bonuses and combat is where the human player has the biggest advantage over the AI. I also want to point out that skill in conquest does factor into the science rankings, since a civilization that is good at taking other civilizations' cities will naturally get more powerful and able to win a science victory. Civilizations that are better at conquest get a bigger bonus towards their science score than civilizations that are further down the domination list. Also, to try and keep things as fair as possible, I'm assuming a standard map size with 8 civilizations and all settings like temperature and world age are set to standard as well. I will also be assuming a fairly generic continents map so there's a decent amount of land as well as a lot of coastline and water in between the land masses. Stay tuned for after the countdown if you want to see a list of all 46 leader civ combinations and where I have them ranked when it comes to science. First up in the 10 spot, coming in at 4 out of 5 stars, we have Germany. Germany has a good balance of strong domination bonuses as well as some strong production bonuses, both of which can help set them up for a late game science victory. Germany's leader, Frederick Barbarossa, gives Germany a bonus to attacking city-states, as well as an additional military policy slot in all governments. The city-state bonus will help Germany to focus more on building a military than building settlers, since they will be able to grow their empire through conquest with city-states as well as with other civilizations. The extra military policy slot will ensure that Germany's military is being produced as efficiently as possible and is taking advantage of any relevant attack bonuses. Germany's civilization bonus will allow it to build an extra district in every city above what the population would normally allow. This will allow even Germany's smaller cities to be decked out in all of the relevant districts to help them max out their science and productivity. The German U-boat will be able to take advantage of its stealth capabilities to do some nice pillaging along their enemy's coastline to provide them with some extra gold and science due to the increased pillaging rewards in Gathering Storm. Finally, the Hansa, which is a replacement to the industrial zone, will be able to take advantage of adjacent resources and commercial hubs to provide Germany with a strong industrial foundation. Germany will be able to outproduce most of the other civilizations, as well as grow their empire by taking over nearby city-states. The extra district they are able to build will make it that much easier to have a campus in every city. Next, in the 9 spot, coming in at 4 out of 5 stars, we have the Inca. The Inca are a very fascinating civilization that thrives in the mountains. The more mountains the better as far as Inca is concerned, which serve as both sources of production and food, but also as natural protection from invasion. Inca's leader bonus gives them more food from domestic trade routes. Not only will they be generating a lot of production from these domestic trade routes, but the extra food will help them to grow even taller cities than most. And if they decide to do any international trading, their unique and very early in the game mountain tunnels will provide them with a bit of extra gold. Inca's civilization bonus allows their citizens to work mountain tiles, which provide 2 production and have the chance to provide a decent amount of food for every terrace farm nearby. Again, this points to the Inca having tall cities with lots of production, which really helps with a science victory push. Inca's unique unit is not especially impressive from a conquest standpoint, but with an extra attack, they will be able to place them at some of their many choke points in their mountain ranges or within the cities themselves and do a great job at defending against outside attackers. Finally, the Incan terrace farms again repeats the theme of giving them more ways to get food and production by both being boosted by nearby mountains and boosting the mountain tiles themselves. The Inca are going to have very tall cities with enough mountains around for some very nice adjacency campuses. All of those extra citizens are going to have plenty of high production tiles to work, which is really going to make it that much easier for the Inca to produce any wonders or late game space parts that they need. Next up in the 8th spot, coming in at 4 out of 5 stars, we have Phoenicia. Other than being able to build settlers faster, Phoenicia does not get any specific science or productivity bonuses that will help a science victory outright. But what they do get is the ability to take advantage of a very specific wonder and a pair of policy cards to set themselves up very well. Phoenicia's leader ability allows them to move their capital to a city with a Kothon by completing a unique project in that city. The strategy with Phoenicia is to build up a strong empire on your home continent and then move your capital to a different continent. By doing this, you are able to take advantage of the plus 15% growth from the colonial offices policy, the plus 25% gold and plus 10% production from the colonial taxes policy, and finally the plus 15% production, faith, and gold from the Casa de Contratación Wonder. All of these bonuses add up to make your now overseas empire one of the strongest in the game. I will note that at the time of this video, it does appear that you need to make sure that you build the wonder after moving your capital, as there is either a bug or it's possibly working as intended that if you build it first, you seem to lose the bonus. Phoenicia's civilization ability does provide them with Eureka to writing technology, which may help them to get a small head start on some campuses. It also makes all of their coastal cities founded by Phoenicia and located on the same continent as their capital have 100% loyalty. This allows you to be a bit more aggressive with your city placement, ensuring that you maximize the location bonuses as much as possible. Phoenicia's unique unit, the Byreme, is able to protect your sea-based trade routes from being pillaged, which will ensure that you're maximizing your gold productivity. Finally, Phoenicia gets a unique district in the Kothon that gives them production bonus for both naval units and settlers. Specifically, the settler bonus is going to help Phoenicia get as many cities up and running as possible in the early game. It may seem a bit odd to base a civilization's science victory strength on a very specific strategy, but the wonder doesn't tend to be prioritized by the AI, and the two civics are completely within your control, so your likelihood of setting this up is very high. Next up, in the 7th spot, coming in at 4 out of 5 stars, we have Scotland. Scotland is a civilization that will use its huge production and science bonuses to both stay ahead of their opponents in the tech tree as well as outproduce them. Scotland's leader, Robert the Bruce, provides a very situational bonus that won't come along very often, but if it does, it can really help if you're able to time it right. He's able to declare wars of liberation earlier than most, and when he does, he gains a plus 100% production boost in all of his cities, as well as plus 2 movement for all of his units for 10 turns. The bonus to movement may be a bit less useful for a science victory, but it helps you take a few cities that will always help your science position. However, if you are able to line up the production bonus with some late game spaceport builds, it can really help accelerate things nicely. Scotland's civilization ability is where they really get their boost from. They get 5% more science and production in any city that is happy, as well as more great scientist and great engineer points. These bonuses are doubled if you can reach ecstatic level in your cities. If you're pushing for a science victory, you may prefer to lean more on the side of a small number of tall cities so that all of your luxuries are able to help all of your cities. Scotland's unique unit, the Highlander, may not have any direct bonuses towards science victory, but it could help to defend your empire in the mid-game while you're focused on maximizing your industrial productivity. Finally, Scotland also gains a golf course tile improvement that will make it even easier to keep your cities happy by providing an extra amenity. The golf course will also provide a small amount of gold and culture, both of which can help augment a science push. Overall, Scotland should have no problem out-teching and outproducing most of their opponents, both of which will help them to stay dominant throughout the game. Next up, in the 6th spot, coming in at 4 out of 5 stars, we have Sumeria. Sumeria is an interesting civilization that will look to take advantage of joint wars with his alliances to help set them up for a strong science victory. Sumeria's leader bonus gives them extra bonuses to their alliances. First off, when at war with a common foe, they and their allies share pillage rewards and combat experience. With the buff that pillaging got in Gathering Storm, where it scales much better as you progress through the game, Gilgamesh should look to get a quick boost to science or gold by declaring a war with one of his many allies. Second, their alliances gain extra alliance points for being at war with a common foe. This is going to help push him up to a tier 2 and 3 alliance very quickly, which will grant him a lot of nice bonuses, especially those free Eurekas and boost to techs that your allies have discovered or are actively researching. Sumeria's civilization ability is a little less impactful towards a science victory. First, you get a tribal village reward when you capture a barbarian outpost. This can be pretty random, but getting a few extra chances at some builders, population, or even some tech or civic boosts can't hurt. Second, you are able to levy city-state units for half the price. There are actually quite a few civilizations in the game that get bonuses to gaining suzerainty with city-states, so this might be a bit hard for Sumeria to take advantage of, but a few extra units can't hurt in a war. That being said, he's already probably going to have some help from one of his allies, and since he doesn't get the same boost that Hungary does, where he can upgrade the city-state units for free, it's possible they won't be advanced enough to help. Sumeria's unique unit, the War Cart, is the strongest starting unit in the game at 30 strength. It also doesn't have a penalty against early spearmen and gains extra movement if it starts in open terrain. Sumeria should be able to snatch a couple early cities from its neighbors, possibly even knocking out an entire civilization before this unit becomes obsolete. If you can find your neighbors quickly enough, you may even forego early settlers for the sake of building your army and grow your empire that way. Sumeria's final bonus is a tile improvement, which is really the strength and foundation of their science potential. The ziggurat gains +2 science as well as +1 culture if it's next to a river. It can't be built on hills, which is fine because you'll want to mine those hills for production anyway. With the exception of a couple farms to make sure you have at least some growth, you will probably be putting ziggurats on every tile that you can fit them. Sumeria will be able to use their ziggurats to get an early science advantage and combine that with strong early unit to pick up a couple cities from their neighbors. This early foundation, combined with some strong mid to late game alliances, should help Sumeria to put up a strong push towards a science victory. Next, in the 5th spot, coming in at 4 out of 5 stars, we have Mali. Mali is a perfect example of pay to win, since their entire strategy is to build up as big of a gold and faith engine as they can, and then use those funds to buy their way to just about any victory, science definitely being one of them. Mali's leader bonus gives them extra gold from the trade routes based on how many desert tiles are in the starting city. It is highly unlikely that you'll be able to have every city with desert tiles in their borders, unless you adjust some settings before the game starts. But you will likely be able to have 2 to 3 strong cities set up with enough desert tiles to be worthwhile, and can just have all of your trade routes coming out of those. Mali also gains an extra trade capacity every time they enter a golden age. Finding ways to maximize the number of golden ages you can get will be a key part of your strategy. The extra trade route means more gold, and the golden ages will provide you with plenty of extra bonuses as well. Mali's civilization ability has several components. First, they get extra food and faith for every desert tile adjacent to the city center. As mentioned previously, it's unlikely that all of your cities will be able to take advantage of this, but you should be able to have a couple early cities that do. Second, they get less production, but significantly more gold from mines. This goes back to the idea that they produce by buying things instead of your standard build method. Third, they were able to purchase commercial hub district buildings with faith. This will make it that much easier to get their gold engine running at full speed. And finally, they get reduced production towards constructing buildings and training units. This is definitely a negative, but it should only really hurt you in the early game, since once you get your golden faith rolling, you'll be looking to buy these things outright most of the time. Mali's unique unit, the Mandakalu Cavalry, gets 2 nice bonuses that will help their overall strategy of acquiring lots of gold. First, it is able to protect trade units within 4 tiles of being plundered. Second, they get extra gold from any combat victories based on the unit's combat strength. Both of these continue the theme of helping them to make more and more gold. Mali's final bonus is a unique district that replaces the commercial hub. The Saguba makes units, buildings, and districts cheaper to purchase with gold and faith in the city, and receives additional gold for each adjacent holy site. Mali will want to make sure that they pick up the Royal Society building in their government plaza, so they can essentially buy their late game space parts by rushing them with bought builders. Next in the 4th spot, and the first of our elite 5-star civilizations, we have China. China will be very focused on getting a bunch of ancient and classical wonders to strengthen its position for the rest of the game. China's leader bonus provides 2 main bonuses that help towards science victory. First, their builders receive an additional charge. If you can get the Pyramids Wonder, you can actually have up to 8 builder charges with Liang as a governor and one of the 2 policies that gives you 2 extra builder charges. Combine this with picking up the Royal Society in the late game, and you will be able to rush space parts 33% faster than anyone else. Second, they can spend builder charges to complete 15% of the production of ancient and classical wonders. There are several wonders in these early eras that you can set up for a strong late game science push, such as the pyramids and the Great Library. China's civilization ability lets Eurekas and inspirations provide 50% of the cost for civics and technologies instead of 40%. If China has a perfect game where they're able to get every single Eureka and inspiration, the boost actually adds up to almost a 17% boost to both culture and science. It's unlikely that you'll be able to have a perfect game, but you should still be able to take advantage of this most of the time. China's unique unit, the Crouching Tiger, doesn't necessarily help them advance towards a science victory, since it is not the greatest unit to use for conquest with its shorter range, but it will definitely come in handy to help protect their borders if their neighbors decide to get a bit aggressive. Finally, China's unique improvement, the Great Wall, will also help protect their borders a bit, as well as provide them a good source of gold and culture, both of which can be used to help augment their science progression. Provided that you get the right early wonders, and as many tech boosts as possible, China's progression towards space should be pretty straightforward. Next in the 3rd spot, in another 5-star elite civilization, we have Australia. Australia comes into this list with a surprising ability to have tall, highly productive cities, which really sets them up for a science victory. Their leader bonus gives them plus 100% production if they've been declared war on or if they've liberated a city in the past 10 turns. I will note that the liberation part of this bonus got a bit of a nerf in Gathering Storm because it used to be 20 turns. That being said, it is still pretty strong, and compared to many of the other production bonuses like this, such as Scotland's, there are probably a lot more chances to trigger this. Where Scotland needs to be friends or allies with a civilization that has a valid city to liberate, Australia can liberate any city for any civilization no matter what their relationship is. Their civilization ability gives them extra housing in coastal cities, which helps them to grow taller cities, and they also get additional yields to their campuses, commercial hubs, holy sites, and theater squares based on the appeal of the respective tiles. A large number of breathtaking campus locations adds up to a pretty significant amount of science. Australia's unique unit, the Digger, gets a bonus to fighting on coastal tiles and outside of Australian territory. They could use these units to help liberate some cities in the late game, especially ones along the coast. Finally, their Outback Station tile improvement will provide them with a significant amount of food and production. You will probably want to place Outback Stations in every tile that you can, since the food and production will help your growing cities be set up for a strong science output and the ability to quickly produce the space parts in the end. Even if Australia can't get their leader production bonus to trigger, they will still be strong contenders for a science victory, but if they can get that to pop a few times, it'll make it that much easier. Next up in the number 2 spot, and another 5-star elite civilization, we have Arabia. Arabia is a very versatile civilization that is able to use their guaranteed religion to push for any victory type, science victory being one of the best for them. Their leader bonus makes their worship building cheaper and gives them 10% science, faith, and culture in any of their cities that have it. There are only a couple other civilizations that have as good or better bonuses as Arabia does for science output. Add to that the ability to have strong faith as well, and they will be able to buy a lot of great scientists and engineers. Arabia's civilization ability guarantees them a religion and gives them extra science from any foreign city that is following their religion. You'll want to play enough of the religion game to get a large number of cities following your religion for the bonus science. Arabia gets a very strong unit in the Mamluk that can heal every turn even if it moves or attacks. Though not necessary to win a science victory, a little bit of medieval era conquest when your unique unit comes online could help to cement your position in the world and set you up for the end game, especially if you target specific neighboring cities that have strong science, productivity, or wonders that you need. Finally, Arabia gets a university replacement that gains a little bit of science, but also provides faith equal to the adjacency science bonus of their campus district. This will add to their faith multiplier to make it even easier for them to get any necessary great people for a science victory. Arabia is very balanced across the board, which is what cements their place as a 5-star science victory civilization. And finally, we have made it to the number 1 spot in our countdown, and another 5-star elite science victory civilization. There's probably no surprises here, but number 1 is Korea. Korea comes into this list because their big science advantage will help them to out-tech just about everyone. Korea's leader bonus gives them extra culture and science for every city that has a governor, which continues to grow as their governors get more and more promotions. Though limited to cities with governors, this bonus will get up to 18% for governors that have every promotion, which is the biggest bonus of its kind. Korea's civilization bonus gives their mines a science bonus and their farms a food bonus if they are next to their unique campus district. These bonuses will help them to stay at the top of the scientific food chain while also helping their cities to grow tall. Due to their governor bonuses, they will want any cities with governors to grow as tall as possible. Korea's unique unit, the Hwacha, is essentially a field cannon that they were able to acquire an era earlier than everyone else. Similar to Arabia, it could be useful for Korea to take advantage of this unit when it comes online in the Renaissance era and target a few neighboring cities, but this is not mandatory for their success. Finally, Korea gets a unique campus district called the Seowon, which gets a guaranteed +4 science as long as it's not adjacent to any other districts other than the government plaza, which actually gives it an additional +1 science. Where most other civilizations may often have to settle for +1 or +2 adjacency campuses, Korea should almost always be able to benefit from the +4 or more science. Korea is all about getting ahead of their opponents in the research tree and never looking back. They don't get the same production bonuses as some of their other science victory competition, but their strong science advantage should buy them the time that they need to finish ahead of the rest. If a science victory is what you are after, you can't go wrong with any of these top 10 civilizations, but the top 4 5-star civilizations will likely have the easiest time on the road to victory. I very much appreciate the overwhelming response I got from the previous domination list, so I encourage you to let me know what you think about this list as well. As promised, here is the entire list of the top 46, so feel free to pause the video here if you want to compare my list to what you had in mind. As always, please like this video if you enjoyed it, or dislike it if you disagree with my list. Either way, I appreciate the feedback and support. Also, please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I hope you join me again next time. Thank you and goodbye.